This podcast is sponsored by Sonos. Sonos is offering the listeners of Dungeons and Demogorgons 10% off one order of $2,500 or less for any product on Sonos.com. This offer is available for a limited time only and cannot be combined with other discounts or promotions. Use the promo code STRANGER10, capital STRANGER10 at Sonos.com to receive this offer.
It's total carnage at the Hawkins lab as the Demogorgons sweep through the facility, killing nearly everyone. Mike and Joyce sedate Will after realizing the shadow monster is using him to locate the survivors. The power goes out and the facility goes into lockdown. Bob is the only one with the computer skills necessary to reboot the lab's computers and disable the security locks.
He manages to do exactly that in heroic fashion, allowing Hopper, Joyce, Will, and Mike to escape. Bob dies in the attempt, torn apart by the creatures, devastating Joyce. Jonathan, Nancy, Steve, Lucas, Dustin, and Max arrive simultaneously and help the others escape in the vehicles.
Our combined team decides to interrogate Will in Joyce's shed, disguising the inside so the shadow monster won't know where they are at. Will manages to communicate to his friends and family by tapping Morse code with his fingers without the shadow monster knowing. He tells them their only hope is to close the gate.
However, Joyce's phone rings and Will recognizes the sound. The shadow monster dispatches its Demogorgons to the scene, and things look grim for the survivors. Suddenly, the monsters are silenced, and in walks Jane to save the day. Welcome to Dungeons and Demogorgons, the officially unofficial podcast for Stranger Things on Netflix. I'm Jim.
I'm A.Ron.
And we just got done watching Season 2, Episode 8, titled Chapter 8, The Mind Flayer. We get a name for this thing, finally. We can stop calling it the Shadow Monster like we did in the intro. Call it the Mind Flayer.
I don't know. I think I like the Shadow Monster.
I mean, it's descriptive.
It's an imperfect metaphor. Shadow Monster is what the thing is.
It's not a metaphor. It's an analogy.
You know what? I'm going to go with Shadow Monster until it says, please call me Mind Flayer. I'm going with the Jane 11 rule. What do you think of the episode?
I thought it was great. I'm super happy to be back in Hawkins, picking up where we left off in episode 6, and in awesome fashion. Like everything just kicked right back into gear for me.
Yeah, and
getting the group back together, like that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted for the final climactic battle. Get the entire group back together, fighting as a unit against this monster, the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, this was the most emotion I think that the season has brought. You know, Bob's death. I don't know who felt it more, me or Joyce. I really got attached to Bob the Brain, and I felt like that they did some retrospective character building, which would
a little bit,
like we talk shit about in The Walking Dead all the time, but like Bob is already a great character. In fact,
he was. Yeah,
I said at the beginning of this episode, or as he was heroically saving the day, I'm like, well, he's too good of a character to die. And then I realized, shit, he's such a great character that killing him would actually mean something.
Yeah, that's exactly why he has to die.
But I like how Mike eulogized him. We find out that he was the founder of the Hawkins AV Club, which brought these boys together, and he was the one that kind of funded it. And he
taught Mr. Clark everything he knew.
Everything he knew. That's pretty cool.
So I'm guessing he was not Mr. Clark's teacher. He was a student along with Mr. Clark, right?
Yeah.
Because Mr. Clark seems to be about Bob's age.
Yeah. But, this is the thing is like this is the age, like computers were a very new thing. So, like, you had these nerds, like, like obviously Bob the Brain and Mr. Clark were probably nerds that went to Hawkins. But, like, the Radio Shack era and the computer era, like I could see that, like, yeah, they're both nerds, but Bob brought Clark along in the ways of the Tandy, and the GW Basic and whatever the hell they were using there.
Honestly, the eulogy is so perfect because obviously Sean Astin was a character in the Goonies. He was Mikey, and he kind of taught everybody everything they knew about the 80s, right?
Yeah,
like. He is iconic 80s, and to eulogize him in this way as he's killed off in the series, I thought was really, really nice.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then, like, I got really, I felt a lot of emotion when everyone was trying to make this connection to Will, and they're talking about all these beautiful experiences they've had, at various ages. Like, I really got a lump in my throat when, like, Mike was talking about their first day in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then when Jane walks in and saves the day, it's like, yeah, I fucking couldn't handle it. It's so good. It's I mean, shit, I want to say it's my favorite episode, but there's still one to go, and they've all been really good in my book. Now, did you, after like everything fell right back, like, you know, it seemed like you were really concerned about the momentum loss. Do you not mind last episode more now that you saw that like the episode got right back into the swing of things, or do you still think
I still think the episode could have been done better. It could have been intertwined into the plot that we were seeing at Hawkins, and it would have flowed better in my opinion. But you know, it didn't kill the end of this season for me. Certainly, like I'm right back in it now, and now that Elle's back with the group, everything is A-okay.
What's the fate of Dr. Paul Reiser?
Good question. So the last we see of him, he's shouting "Run" to Bob, right?
Yeah,
and watching the monitors.
And I gotta say, when he started "quote unquote" guiding Bob, I'm like, fucking evil Dr. Paul Reiser. He's gonna lock him in the lab, and the Demogorgons are gonna gangbang him and impregnate him, and he's gonna be filed into like this hermetically sealed glass coffin, and evil Dr. Paul Reiser is gonna leave in a helicopter twirling his non-existent mustache. But I think I don't see. I don't know why he would die, because it looks like the Demogorgons were all concentrated on the people leaving. So maybe he can survive. On the other hand, he'd be the only one left in that facility alive.
Right. Here's the thing: if evil Dr. Paul Reiser comes back, do not trust him, because he's probably under the power of the Mind Flayer. Right?
Yeah.
He's probably been willed, and it's some kind of ploy. Do not fucking trust Paul Reiser from here on out.
Yeah.
If you ever thought he was a good guy, you know for sure that he's not now.
But yeah, like there was some grisly shit in that lab. Like those Demogorgons or the Demodogs, as Dustin dubbed them, are not fucking around.
No, especially what they did to poor Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob died hard.
They ripped him to pieces.
It reminded me a lot of some of the early deaths on The Walking Dead, where just people died screaming.
Yeah.
And also like I thought, because, like, okay, Hopper's been the Nom. He knows how to run that M16, and he's swinging up in slow motion, and, like, the Demogorgon was on Bob, but he hadn't quite done fatal damage, and, like, Hopper's going to save the day, but he didn't.
He would have, I think, but the Demogorgons...
There's just too many of them.
Yeah. He can't stop them
Like, he could have stopped the one, maybe. It's unclear to me how gunfire affects the Demogorgons, if at all.
Yeah, it seems not very much.
Like, I don't understand whether they're, like, unusually tough or armored, or
maybe have some kind of
Hopper
healing powers.
What Hopper needed was a what Hopper really needed was a flamethrower. Yeah. Now, I don't think that would have helped Bob much.
No.
God damn, I can't. They killed Bob, because I was just thinking, like, I could see him being a character going forward. But it's not going to happen. Yeah,
so, I mean, he died in heroic fashion, as we mentioned.
It's the best you can ask, yeah.
It's the Jurassic Park gambit, and I know that Jurassic Park is not of the era as far as the show goes, but it certainly was an influence here. Like the old restore the power, reboot the computers operation, hold on to your butts.
Except for he was Samuel L. Jackson and Laura Dern all wrapped up. And the girl who knows Unix.
When he reached for that power switch, I expected an arm to drop down on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So total Jurassic Park thing there. But Bob the Brain did save the day with his basic powers, and I liked how, he's not just an electronics wizard. He is also, he's just smart in every arena. Yeah, and I think. I guess I buy that. Like we mentioned that it may be a little bit of retconning that he was, the founder of the AV Club, but
he works at Radio Shack in the 80s. I totally believe that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Radio Shack was a very different beast in the 80s. Radio Shack was the electronics tinkerer store, right? It was not RC cars and cell phones,
right?
Which eventually probably led to its death.
Well, I mean, what led to its death is just that tinker thing just kind of went away
for a while, yeah. But they could have gotten the Arduino game. They could have gotten the 3D printing game. Like they just didn't. They didn't jump on the things that the tinkerer crowd was jumping onto.
That's true.
At the right
well,
times.
You know what though? I think
they went
more
to
the point. there was like a 15-year gap between the death of
There
the
was.
Radio Shack and then the rise of the maker culture.
Yeah.
If that had been a little closer together, they might have been able to pivot. And drones and all. Like there is a market now for these high-end technical things that you could put under one thing. But the other thing is like how... with Fry's and Best Buy, and they're having their problems too because Amazon is the fucking massive mind flayer that's destroying them all.
Yeah.
I don't know that any brick and mortar is going to survive. That doesn't. That there's a couple places that like if you need to try on something and take a picture of it and look it up on Amazon to order. Like I would hate to be in a brick and mortar business right now.
Yeah, no, it's rough. And Radio Shack was a casualty, but back then, yeah, it was definitely more like we're going to sell you capacitors and we're going to sell you little LCD screens and like all the stuff that you wanted as or more to the point, radio components, right? Transmitters and receivers and stuff like that you just couldn't get anywhere else because there was no internet. Yeah,
and the fact that you didn't have just like these different types of nerds. It was like that was kind of the interesting thing about the 70s and 80s that like if you were a nerd, you just had this like broadband. You just assumed to have like. I thought Bob was a great description because he was into computers, he's into electronics, he's into gizmos, he's into cameras, he's just like he is a junkie for this anything new in that arena, and he keeps up with it because he's passionate about it. And now he's dead.
He got killed for it.
And that's the thing. Like I really like because Hopper gets to shine so much.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Fuck yeah, I'll go flip some breakers." And he's like, "But you can't. You got to do the computers." Like, okay, teach me basic. And it's like, luck. Yeah, it's like that's like. A man of action for the first time. Like, well, you can't play. Now, what wasn't clear to me is why wouldn't Hopper come with me? Because with him, I thought, apparently I just that's a Freudian slip. I am Bob. I wanted Hopper to come with me and be my boyfriend.
Yeah, but I don't know why he stays behind. I guess to guard Joyce and them.
It seems like that's the best of both worlds, right? You've got the muscle, you got the brain. You got Jim the muscle and Bob the brain.
The problem is all they got's one muscle. And I feel like he thought it was more important to guard Will and Mike and Joyce and Riser.
But the thing is, yes, but the thing is if Bob fails, they're all fucked.
That's true.
Bob's literally the only one that can because I don't even think the evil Dr. Paul Reiser knew basic.
No, he said he didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So like he's like if that mission fails, then everything else is academic.
Bob is a basic wizard. He gets in there and in the span of 10 seconds has written a script to totally reboot all of these systems.
I wish they'd have spent a little bit. Like I didn't have to get Mr. Robot with it, but like I mean, Bob was as typing as fast as like a fucking 9600 baud modem. Like
he was, but at the same time, like if you know all the commands that reboot it, because I assume I didn't go back and like analyze the screen or anything, but I assume he's just typing in like a standard batch script or whatever to run commands in a specific order,
right?
Not like programming a system.
Yeah, but I guess to be more realistic, he would actually look at the code, scan through it, find out where it's unlocking. But on the other hand, it looks like all he really did. It's just weird because
he's just writing a script to do things in a certain order.
But then it eventually loaded up this like it's not a GUI but a command like interface where he's entering numbers, and that to me it seems like all he did is like boot and then went to DOS prompt and ran lockcontrols.exe.
Right.
So like I don't know, whatever.
But certainly Hopper or Riser could not have done that.
No. I just wish. I see. It's one of those things. Like I wish they had done a little bit of and decided which way they wanted to go and keep it like consistent. Again, I don't need Mr. Robot, but
yeah, it's tough being a nerd watching these nerdy.
It is, especially Nerd of the Era, because like that's the shit. I was all up in that stuff. So
the Demogorgons got a hell of a meal here. They're definitely gonna molt, right?
I mean,
the one we saw
cheap shot at Bob's portly nature.
Well,
honestly,
no,
Jim.
I mean, they eat a cat and you molt. Now it's time to.
No, they feasted on a whole facility full of strapping Marines and young nurses and
potential
Bob's
risers.
brains, and maybe you're right. Risers. He's a man-witch himself. But
the somewhat confusing thing is the one we see later on that Elle kills or that Jane kills is not evolved beyond what it was, beyond the demo dog, right? So
it makes sense that they're all kind of like they're not all molting in unison.
Yeah, and well, we haven't seen one molt yet, so I assume that off screen during between 8 and 9, they're probably going to molt.
Yeah, they'll be full-fledged Demogorgons.
Yeah,
although I don't know, like
or close to it.
Why wouldn't Elle have killed all the Demogorgons that were outside? It seems like
Maybe
they all went quiet.
Yeah.
The other thing is, before we go to Bob, is like we didn't give him all of his moments of awesome. He also was able to herd the Demogorgons using the sprinkler system.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have saved himself if he was in Riser's position. If there were 2 Bobs, he would have gotten out of there.
Yeah, I think so.
You drop a broom, you just turn on another sprinkler, no problem.
Yeah. Let's talk about the stuff with Dustin and Lucas, because I thought that was pretty strong too. That like Dustin, because he's hung out with Steve, understands something that even Lucas doesn't. That Lucas has essentially won the war. He's won the love triangle. Yeah. That there's genuine electricity between himself and Max.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I thought was cool. I also like their increasingly petty arguments that was bleeding over into serious stuff. Like, they're having this argument about who broke the rule of law, and which was a more technical violation of it than like when Dustin's trying to do his long-winded analogy about the mind flayer. Lucas is in it's not a metaphor, it's an analogy. And then that's the thing, like I like that the adults were kind of calling like, look, this is just a fucking game.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, well, how do you defeat it? Well, use our army of zombies because they don't have brains. Like,
it's just a fucking game.
Yeah, so they didn't have, and honestly, they had no solution. They had to go, Will was the one that had the solution, and Elle had or Jane had the power to do it.
Yeah.
And then...
and I love that scene because every time they slap a monster manual down on the table, I feel a little tingle.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really awesome.
Thanks goes to Sonos because they've essentially sponsored the season 2 run of Stranger Things, and that was very kind of them, and we're going to talk about their product.
I don't think they did it for kindness. I think...
Well, yes.
They probably did it because they want you to buy their admittedly good products.
They have an ulterior motive. They want to pawn off this superior audio equipment to the unsuspecting public masses. We're going to make you suspecting. You're going to suspect it of high quality gear. And the other thing I like about Sonos is increasing in this podcast advertising game. We're getting. It used to be like, you just say whatever you want, like, enjoy the product and have your own review. And like, as the years have gone by, I feel like I'm being put in more and more handcuffs about, like, you got to hit these talking points and make sure you don't say this and blah, this expires. And Sonos is just like, talk about your experiences with our product.
Yeah.
And that's confident. That's confident. And I'll even tell you my experience with the Sonos product. You open it up, exquisite packaging. Mm-hmm. The devices look amazing. You plug them in the wall, you download the app, and setup is complete. There'll be a few more steps that the app will walk you through. It's never got hung up. I've never had to call support. Again, I grew up in a Radio Shack age, so that might not be impressive, but I'm telling you, it's foolproof.
Yeah.
And it sounds great. The one we're talking about today is literally the one, Sonos One, because they're getting into the voice activated, voice responsive, the Alexa, the Google at home kind of space.
Which I can't tell you how convenient that is.
It really is.
When you're cooking and you have fish juice covered head to toe on your body and you don't want to fuck your phone up.
Or like
you just talk to it.
You're playing video. I'm playing a video game and I want to know what time it is, or I want to know like you said, setting timers. It's like there's all kinds of things that I'm not sure what you will use it for, but I'm sure you will find a use because. This is the fucking Star Trek future. This is, I don't have a matter replicator yet, but like, Sonos has got the, Earl Grey hot part down.
They do.
Somebody else needs to get on the replicator part, but like as soon as they're ready to go, man. And this is the future. You want to know a random fact, like how far away is the Earth from the Moon, or I don't know how much does the Earth weigh, or shit like that. It's when does the movie start? Yeah. Lots of cool stuff like that. Setting up reminders and calendars, appointments completely hand-free. And, I know some people have had different jaded experiences when they use their phone assistant or, what is like Siri or OK Google. But whatever the technology... See? My phone. See? This is what I'm talking about. This shit right here. It's trying to be my faithful servant. Can you? Can you? I don't know if you can. Sonos can, because whatever sound system they're using, like the voice technology is just so much better than the stuff I've used on my phone.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's the quality of the sound itself, because there are a lot of devices that will do this voice stuff, but not very many of them are really high quality audio gear as well.
And the fact that this is such an amazing sounding piece of equipment and a super small package makes it all the sweeter. And again, don't take our word for it. You search for reviews on these Sonos ones, and they're just all glowing.
They are.
This is high end gear that looks great, and sounds great, and does exactly what it says it's going to do on the tin. So, how can they take advantage of the special offer Sonos is extending them, Jim?
That offer is right now. You can get 10% off one order of $2,500 or less for any product on Sonos.com. It's available for a limited time only. Can't be combined with other discounts or promotions. But if you go to Sonos.com and you use the promo code Stranger10 in all capital letters, STRANGER10 at Sonos.com, you will receive the offer.
By the way, those offer codes are always in the show notes. So if you're driving down the road, don't take your hands off the wheel.
Yeah.
If you had a Sonos in your car, you could say, "Hey Sonos, remind me." Or, hey, Alexa, remind me to blah, blah, blah.
Give me that sweet offer.
But just keep your hands on the wheel. Wait till you get home. Look at the show notes. And the link and the promo code's right there. And then Mike is still being an unconscionable dick to Max. Like, I don't even get it. Like, why do you have to, in this moment, assert that just because you know the truth, you're not in our party?
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean, I've been in kid groups where... Hell, I've been in adult groups where, like, we've got a set thing and we do this thing, and then someone wants to bring in two more, and I'm like, well, now we're bringing two more, and like now our one party is split into two. This isn't as much fun as we were having, and I get it, but like, damn, Mike.
Yeah, no, Mike's being a shit here, but I'm hoping now that Elle is back, he can cool his jets a bit and actually get on board with a new party member.
Yeah,
have a couple new party members.
Where does it stop? Where does it stop? Because, like, 4 seasons from now, we're going to have 16 kids. That's not even a party anymore.
Stops when they graduate. Like, when they go off to college.
Yeah, it's like when you get, like, where your friend group can no longer sit at one table at fucking Applebee's or Steak and Shake. Like, you're not
Time to thin the herd.
Yeah, you're not. You either break up into two separate groups or you're kind of fucked.
Yeah, and they got a pretty big group now. I assume season 3 we can expect like Steve and Nancy and Jonathan to be hanging out with them too, right? I mean, I know there's a pretty big age gap, but come on, you've been through some shit together.
I don't know. I mean, I think
like Murray says, you got that oh so powerful shared trauma.
I think if they're going to do that, they need a time jump. They need a flat. They need and which that might not be a bad idea because how long can you keep?
But Nancy's gone for sure. In a time jump, she's going to college.
But I'm saying no. I'm saying like Stephen King's It time jump, like 20 years. They're all like they're now like you just recast everybody and you bring them back to Hawkins for some some crazy reason that's happening in the future.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in the 4 or 5 seasons we're gonna get. No.
Well, it's an idea for a spinoff.
There you go.
And I'd like to see how that would survive and change, and that was one of the kind of cool things, I guess, about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing in the movies when they come back as adults, because the things that make it special are the children, and then how do you retain those characters but still recognize that they've grown up and they've changed and they've matured and they're different people, and et cetera, et cetera.
Have you exhausted your Dustin and Lucas stuff?
No, go ahead if you've got some more.
Oh, no, I was going to take it in a different direction.
Then please do that.
The scene with Will, where they strap him down in the shed and they question him, or they try and appeal to the real Will inside this body. So I thought this was a pretty incredible scene, and I like the performance that Schnapp, I forget his first name, but this kid who plays Will gives is really, really powerful. When he's screaming, "Let me go, let me go."
Yeah.
How many fucking times did this kid have to do that scene?
I don't know.
Because I can't imagine doing it more than once.
I hope they had throat lozenges for him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then how like it looked like they were getting through, and how deflating it was when after all that's done, he just still goes back to "Let me go."
Yeah.
And they did. I don't know if it's digital manipulation or is the child actor doing it, but like they add a little bit of like a shadow monster to his voice. But then they found the Morse code then, which was
And we find out
neat.
a couple of cool things in that scene. They built Castle Byers the night that their dad left.
right.
Him and Jonathan went out in the woods and built that. Well, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
And of course,
And the origins of his artistic ability, his mom getting
the
him
giant box of crayons
for his 8th birthday, where everybody else got Star Wars toys, and that was that was cool.
Yeah. And then finding this way to communicate without the knowledge of the Mind Flayer shadow monster.
Throw on some Clash.
It makes perfect sense. Like AV Club for the win. you
Yeah,
know?
right.
These kids all immediately recognize, oh, that's Morse code. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and that's another thing that you can only really do in this time period. Because like I was talking about in our season 1 coverage, like I had the walkie-talkies that had the like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same Radio Shack brand where they had that steel plate that was bolted to the front that had all the different
letters,
codes.
yeah.
And like sometimes just for shits and grins, we would try to communicate using Morse code. Like nowadays, like I guess kids would just do encryption, but you couldn't speak to someone strapped to a thing and RSA 256
No, you can't.
you can't. It just doesn't work.
Fingers don't move fast enough for
It's
that.
just like people are increasingly realize what a narrative crutch it was to have voicemail and answering machines.
Yeah.
That you could like have this exposition, very neat and efficient and tidy, and that just doesn't fucking exist anymore.
Yeah, you can get some delayed text.
Or like the absence of cell phones added like some mystery and urgency and stuff that doesn't exist
and
anymore.
a disconnect. Yeah,
Exactly.
Sense of isolation.
This is a story that you could only kind of tell in this little 5 to 10 year gap.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I feel bad for Joyce, though. She definitely needs a new phone now that Nancy smashed it on the ground and pulled it out of the wall.
Yeah.
How many phones will she go through before the end of the show?
The one thing that reminded me of like when they were redressing the shed. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is so much harder than just putting a fucking hood over the kid's head. But then when I saw what they did with it, I immediately like, well, yeah, but
They're trying to connect with him on a personal level.
and the performance that they were able to get with them all around and Will reacting would be a shadow of itself if he's just strapped in with a hood over his head.
And it makes sense. I mean, you want to look the kid in the eyes, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to
You're
make
appealing
that
to his
connection.
humanity.
Yeah.
You're trying to punch through the shadow monster.
Yeah,
Mind Flayer
they just
wall.
didn't think about the phone.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yep. And then that's it. I mean, Jane comes in, saves the day, snaps a bunch of Demogorgon necks.
Yeah, the one thing we didn't talk about...
I wonder, because feels like now that Jane's there, it's like, how are they going to lose? Because the shadow monster is many things, but it doesn't seem like it has any way to really interact with the world other than its Demogorgon pets.
Yeah, could it trick them somehow with Will? I mean, they're onto that. They're wise to it.
Or is it going to do, like, battle with Jane on the astral plane?
Maybe. Yeah.
Is Jane going to get vaporized again? And I wonder, because as you yourself said, like, how the fuck do they wrap this thing up in
a single episode?
Now, there's
I mean,
the
you can
chance
close
that
the gate, but what is that going to do?
there's a chance now that they know they've got some runway with Netflix that it's just a cliffhanger.
Maybe.
I don't know how I'd feel about that.
I think they need to close the gate, and we realize, oh, that didn't necessarily do the whole trick.
It's going to slow, but not. Yeah, I guess they could do another thing where like maybe you think things are okay, but then Will's coughing up a slug, or maybe it's Hopper's turn to cough up something because he's breathing a lot of shadow monster aerial sperm or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, he was. I think at this point, my theory on the JVC is probably dead. I don't think it's going to help him. To try and go in there with a video recorder and get some kind of evidence. I mean, maybe they take it for fun. Like Jonathan's like,
Right.
oh, this would be cool to photograph.
Right.
Let me get that JVC. But closing this gate, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Elle's got to try it. Elle's the only one who possibly could.
Surely the lab has, because like Reiser had this line. I also like the fact that we just completely abandoned. We just made a conscious decision that we're never going to learn Dr. Paul Reiser's name. It's
Oh,
gonna
I
be
know
Paul
his
Reiser.
name. I'm not telling it.
Oh, okay. Well, I did. I just like, no, it's Dr. Paul Reiser. Shut up. Shit, I got so Twitter page with that. I forgot.
The gate.
Oh,
the L in
yeah.
the gate.
Like he has a line where like it's not like they haven't tried closing it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be something.
And it's huge now. We saw.
Oh, yeah.
It's stories high at this point.
Yeah.
How do you close that thing?
It's going to be. I wonder if it's going to be like Will and Jane coming together, because like Will is caught between the two worlds, like that 3D Viewmaster, and Jane is able to enter into that world psychically. I wonder if they're going to have to like somehow merge or like mind meld or some kind of crazy 80s science fiction idea.
Yeah, I'm honestly willing to follow them pretty much wherever they go on this one. So I'm excited to see what's next.
One thing that keep bugging me is whenever they stick a needle in Will's arm, I know they're using those like little retractable needles.
Yeah.
But it's like 3 inches long, and little Will's noodle arm's about 1.5 inches. They're either sticking him right through the bone or right, like I keep on thinking that this needle's going to come out the other side and just, it's like it's missing. It's missing. Have you guys never heard of like a fucking butterfly needle, or like it's,
It is a little deep.
I don't know why you need a 3-inch needle on this thing. And also, how the hell does Joyce, did I miss some backstory in season 1 where she used to be a nurse? Because she's administering medication, which, knocking people out, they pay anesthesiologists a lot of money to be able to know, like, okay, this kid's this tall and he's this weight heavy, and he's got this metabolism, and
pretty diminutive kid here. You might want to be careful.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Here's the problem with possessing a diminutive 11-year-old boy. Is he can be held down, restrained, and knocked out.
Right.
Like if you possessed Hopper, it'd be a little bit harder.
Yeah, I would not want to try to restrain Hopper.
No.
I mean, the thing about, like, you can strain a young boy without killing them. I mean, it's super psychologically effective, but, like, try to restrain Hopper without killing him.
Yeah.
Good fucking, especially this group.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what's Reiser going to do, grab him?
Yeah, or Bob.
He'll get thrown down this
like, you might
stairs.
know basic Bob, but I think Hopper could just put you in orbit. So, good luck with that.
The one scene we didn't talk about yet is the stuff with Billy, which is frightening.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a scene where we understand why Billy is the way he is,
and why he treats his sister like that. Like, his dad trying to brute force this step family together is just tearing it apart.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Max's mom is obviously not cool with the way he's treating his son, but she's too cool for me. Like, she needs to be a little less cool with this and tell this guy, look, I'm not cool with the way you treat Billy.
And it's adding this tragic element that, like, I wonder if this guy has been violent and angry, and she's like, well, we just need a change of scenery.
Right.
And now she's in Indiana, and they're away from there. And it's, like, there's... Mm-hmm. It's funny because you mentioned how they did a poor job of establishing Callie's gang, and yet like they're able to tap in and with very efficient scenes show you everything that's wrong with Billy and Max's family. Yeah. In a way, I don't know. It's hard to. It's really hard to shorthand character development, but you know enough about family dynamics if you've watched any kind of television to know that like this shit's bad. This is toxic.
Oh yeah, I mean this is not the way to teach someone to be a good, kind brother, as he says.
And what's going to happen? Like what I'm afraid is going to happen is Billy's going to show up after everything's said and done, and what is Max going to say to explain herself?
Yeah, if she didn't believe Lucas, there's no way Billy believes her.
Right.
I mean, she could strap that Demogorgon to her back and show him that.
The only thing the Max has got going for her is that presuming she have Hopper. I would like to see Billy swing on Hopper. Mm-hmm. No, seriously, I'd like to see that. That would be hilarious.
I don't think it goes so well for him.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how much they'll wrap up and how much they'll punt the next season.
Yeah. All right, maybe we should get back to the end of the marathon.
Yeah, once again, Stranger Things at baldmove.com for feedback on the season 2 wrap-up podcast we'll be having in this week or next. I'm not sure if we've actually scheduled that. I guess it depends on how much feedback we got in our schedule, but we're definitely going to do one. You're also, if you go to the forums.baldmove.com, there is a show thread for every episode on the forums, so you can keep up at your own pace and contribute there. Then also, if you want to keep up with our marathon and see when we do schedule the wrap-up podcast where we consider the season 2 as a whole and maybe look forward to season 3, baldmove.com. Check that out, or go on our social media or our social media presence, which I think those are all linked at baldmove. Just go to baldmove.com. Choose your own adventure.
It's a pretty cool place.
You'll figure it out. It's a website. This is not 1984. You know how this stuff works. Yeah, let's get back into the episode, Jim.